This is BBC News. I'm Regid Ahmed. Our top stories. A serious blow to President Trump's proposed healthcare bill as two more Republican senators announce their opposition. War as a way of life. We have a special report from eastern Ukraine where 3 years of conflict have brought misery to thousands.
This war has ground into a stalemate, and that means untold suffering, particularly for the civilian population.
Forest fires sweep towards the Croatian coastal city of Split. Hundreds of firefighters and soldiers are battling the blaze. Hello and welcome to BBC News. President Trump's efforts to replace Obamacare have been dealt another major blow, with two more Republican senators refusing to back their party's latest plans. It makes it impossible for the bill to pass in its current form, with a majority of only 4 in the US Senate and all Democrats expected to vote against the bill. The Republicans can only afford to lose 2 votes. Well, let's cross live to the BBC's Suzanne Kianpour in Washington. Suzanne, first of all, can you explain what this latest development means?
Well, what we're seeing is what we could call a Senate stalemate. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell was faced with a mathematic impossibility. He couldn't afford to have more than 3 Republicans vote no or be a no for the repeal and replace bill to replace Obamacare. And when Senators Jerry Moran of Kansas and Mike Lee of Utah joined their counterparts, Rand Paul of Kentucky and Susan Collins of Maine, basically this bill was no longer able to go ahead even for a debate, which it could be seen as a bit of an embarrassment for the Republican Party, given that they currently control the House, the Senate, and the White House, and repealing Obamacare was a major campaign promise for both President Trump, and lawmakers on the Hill campaigning to be elected to the House and the Senate. So to not even be able to have it come to a debate is a bit of a major blow to the party, and it really shows some splinters in the Republican Party, and it shows these differing factions and shows that they're not able to come together, which isn't good when it comes to party unity and when you have such strong opposition in the Democratic side.
Suzanne Kianpour in Washington. We'll have to wait and see what happens next. Thank you very much. Well, let's take a look at some of the other stories making the news. Donald Trump has threatened strong action against Venezuela if President Nicolas Maduro imposes constitutional changes. Millions of people took part in an unofficial vote rejecting the plans at the weekend, and the opposition has called a general strike later this week. Mr. Trump described Maduro as a bad leader who dreams of becoming a dictator. The White House says Iran is complying with the terms of its nuclear agreement with international powers. Washington will maintain the accord, backing away from President Trump's pre-election promise to scrap it. Iran's foreign minister says his country is not designing ballistic missiles capable of carrying nuclear warheads. Senior Russian officials are suggesting talks in Washington are close to resolving the row over 2 diplomatic compounds seized and shut by the US last December. 35 Russian diplomats accused of interfering in the American presidential election were also thrown out of the country. The Russians have accused Washington of stealing their property. An Australian woman has been shot dead by police in Minneapolis responding to an emergency call. Justine Demond, who was living with her American fiancé, had reported a noise near their home and was shot when she approached the police car that responded. Her family want to know why the officer's body cameras were switched off at the time. Well, it's been 3 years since Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 en route from Amsterdam was shot down in eastern Ukraine with a loss of 298 lives. It was the worst single loss of life in the war between Russian-backed separatists and the Ukrainian government that has claimed 10,000 lives. Our special correspondent Fergal Keane and cameraman Darren Conway have been to Ukraine's frontline in the town of Advitka. Rachel is here with all the business news now. Rachel, Netflix is forging ahead. Well, now Montenegro has asked for international help to fight wildfires, which have led to the evacuation of several hundred people from villages on the Adriatic coast and in neighbouring Croatia. Forest fires have spread to suburbs of the coastal city of Split. Hundreds of firefighters and soldiers are battling the blaze. Catherine Stan-Cheshin reports. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and their children are continuing their visit in Poland today. Well, they'll travel to Danzig, where they'll visit the Stutthof concentration camp. And last night, Prince William delivered a speech in Warsaw in which he praised the country's fortitude and bravery. Our royal correspondent Peter Hunt reports from Warsaw. It looks like lots of fun. Well, don't forget, you can get in touch with me and some of the team on Twitter. I'm at BBC Regid Ahmed. There's also much more on the website, bbc.com/news. You can get all of our top stories there.